Hey, everybody. Welcome to The Experience, live with Russ and Scott.
Welcome to The Experience, live with Russ and Scott.
Special thank you to our sponsors, the Gillette Home team of Keller Williams for all your realty needs, and Summit Cleaning and Restoration. For all your cleaning and restoration needs, go to summitclean.com. Okay, I'm cracking up at myself. So welcome everybody to The Experience Live with Russ and Scott. Hey, Scott, how's it going?
I am doing good, Russ. Good morning. And, we had a great time on The Experience Backstage, which is joint with Shri on Instagram. And people should join in for that as well, which is also 6:30 a.m. Pacific time. Just, it's still dark.
Yeah,
in fact,
at
7 a.m., it's still dark here on the Pacific coast.
It's crazy. Well, it's funny. I'm laughing at myself because number one, I'm adjusting my stuff. I realized I had the wrong camera on to start with. So we're doing that as on the fly. Number two,
absolutely.
I'm laughing that when I adjusted the video this morning for our new sponsor, Summit Clean and Restoration, which we're super excited about having.
Summit.
Yes, I'm so excited about that. There's our background. There we go. So excited about that. But as I was doing that, I realized, I have last week's show promo on the beginning and the end. So, well, I knew I forgot something. I was so focused on putting in the new sponsor, I forgot about the other part. But anyway, listen.
We are happy for both Gillette and Summit for sponsoring the experience, because we do, as we say, bring in the most remarkable people. We've got some great guests today. I'm looking forward to bringing those to the world here on The Experience.
Yeah, I'm really excited this morning. Having Oakland and Brian on this morning is going to be great. And we just really want to be able to give them time. But first, just want to remind everybody that we're here at 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time every Wednesday on The Experience Live with Russ and Scott, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Before this, we were on The Experience Backstage. So as we're prepping, and we were really getting ready on that one, at least I was. And so that is just our prep for this show, but it also has our good friend Shri out of Houston, Texas, who gives everybody video tips. So Shri Mahavar, if you don't work with her currently, you need to do that. She's really good at helping you present on video and giving you tricks of the trade and things that are great to help you. So we appreciate Shri. Also appreciate our sponsor on Experience Backstage, the Glitter Practitioner, Dr. Nupi Aurora, who we love and appreciate. So it's just been a lot of fun.
Yeah, we talk about tips, video tips. And one of the ones that I was thinking of is, I was working with a client, consulting with a client that was developing an upholstered product for home use. And so I was doing some research, and I found this lady who was a fashion designer. She designed clothes, and she was over in Thailand going through the market, looking at all the different fabrics and using Instagram and getting instant feedback from her customers as to which fabrics she should buy there in the marketplace. Real-time feedback. And
cool.
That's just that is one of those uses for a live video and for different social media channels to be able to connect directly to your customers and not make the wrong purchasing decision. So that's just a very unique situation, but a great example of how video can improve your business real time.
Oh my goodness, that is so true. And I am blessed with a fabulous teammate who does all kinds of little video clips and things for me. And she just put out a little promo clip that I do because I am all about helping you market you. That's what I'm all about. And so put together this new little promo clip that's awesome. Really tries to drive home what I'm talking about. And also thanks to my friend David Ask and Nancy Backey, who are taking a look at things that I'm doing and helping me, because I constantly want to refine. Scott, you have been the catalyst in all that I do and always have helped. But it's so great surrounding yourself with amazing people, because we are the culmination and the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And so we try to up that game all the time. And that's why I hang out with you all the time, Scott.
Well, I feel fortunate. They say if you want to be successful, surround yourself with people who are better than you are. And that's what I do at those charity golf tournaments, those golf scrambles.
Yep.
I get 3 other players that are better than me, and that's not hard to do.
And that's how you win. That's right. Well, listen, let's get the ball rolling. Let's get Oakland in here and get this thing started, because I think they have so much value. We want to get them in. So Oakland is joining the room. Good morning, Oakland.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on, Russ and Scott.
This is Lieutenant Colonel retired, I believe.
That is correct. Yes.
That's wonderful.
That's so awesome. Well,
congratulations.
Oakland, give everybody.
Thank you for serving.
Thank you.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Thank you.
Veterans Day is coming up.
Yes. It is. That's right. And I remember that for a whole nother reason. But okay, so Oakland, tell everybody a little bit about you and what you're all about.
Yeah, well, thanks, Russ. So I'm a retired lieutenant colonel. I spent 23 years on active duty in the United States Army. And if you add up all my time associated with the Army, I've got about 40 years associated with the Army. But now I do have a day job. I recruit for Army ROTC at the college level, and I am a speaker, and I have published a book.
Wow.
Congratulations. Well, all right. Tell us about your book. Tell us about the book.
Yeah. So the title of it is Your Leadership Legacy, Becoming the Leader You Were Meant to Be. And it's all about leadership. And it is about, there's no theory in my book. It is all about everyday things that everyday leaders can do that allows them to be a better leader, either improve their skills or their abilities, or just to pass on and take care of the people in their organization, because I'm a firm believer in servant leadership.
Well, and that is so amazing. Servant leadership. I love that, because really it's all about reaching out, blessing, and helping other people. And when you do that, oh my goodness, it makes such a difference in all that you do. And I know, I've learned that all from Scott.
Well, I learned it. I learned that from a lot of mentors I had in the Army and in high school. 2 of my biggest mentors were my basketball coach, Coach Nitzwicki, and my history instructor, professor, teacher, who is the reason I majored in history in college, Mr. Schindler. And it was all about servant leadership for them and for a lot of my mentors, and I named my book Your Leadership Legacy, not because of what you're going to accomplish and, that it makes you some famous person. For me, the legacy is, who do you leave behind? Your children, your grandchildren, the people you mentored, the next generation of leaders. And one of my favorite quotes in my book, and I wish I could take credit for it, but I can't, is, great leadership handed down from generation to generation is what develops great nations. And Master Sergeant David Powell, a guy who worked for me, and I say he worked for me, he was a better leader than I was, probably. He and I were talking about what we were doing when I was running our Army ROTC program, producing leaders not only for the Army but for the nation. And he came up with that quote. And the most powerful thing about that quote is that you can take that word nations out, and it doesn't matter. You can add any other thing you want: company, university, hospital, food bank, sports team, doesn't matter. It doesn't change the meaning one bit, because every organization needs good leadership at every level.
Well, I love that. Yeah. I love the
Go ahead, Scott.
that legacy aspect of it. I remember one time being asked in an interview what my greatest accomplishment was, and I said, "Well, you have to follow me for this in a moment, because it was a person that I hired who became a manager, who hired a lady who became a manager," and I said, "She's my granddaughter."
That's it.
Not literally a granddaughter, but by management training. I said, because I trained somebody who trained somebody, that's what I feel most proud about.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so listen, I think that Oakland, you are just a great picture of when you and I talked about, the real idea of serving people. And speaking of serving people and teaching people, I want to bring in our next guest. Mr. Brian Morgan is in the house. Morning, Brian.
Morning. Hi, guys. Thanks for the great conversation.
You bet. Well, great to have you here joining us today. Give everybody a little snapshot about you and what you're all about.
Well, I'm unworthy of the of the other people on the call here, but thank you for the opportunity. I am a college professor, and I run a company called Think Deeply, Write Clearly, which has essentially two different product lines, and one of them is corporate writing and corporate training, helping corporations with critical thinking. And the other side tends to take that same approach and help people with their thought leadership, their blogs and their TED Talks and their things on LinkedIn, that sort of thing, to establish their credibility. And if you could forgive another 20 seconds on it, the big takeaway for anyone who might be in those spaces and looking for something of use is that the value of a statement is largely misunderstood. This is why I teach in college now. The value of a statement is largely misunderstood because we think people care about our conclusions. And I'm 48 years old, and I've come to realize that people don't care about our conclusions at all. People care about how and why we have arrived at our conclusions. And we can actually create a tremendous amount of intimacy with people and credibility with people, even if they disagree with our conclusions. And of course, societally, we miss this. And because it's missed societally, often it's missed in the classroom and it's missed in the business. And that's very expensive in both places. And so my job is to go in and give people the tools they need to be credible in the world, which tends to have ROI benefits toward them. And then, if we go far enough, in that cultural ROI in that as well, and better conversations across the whole country, ideally. So that's 30 seconds.
Right. Scott, I can see you're burning with the
I
comment.
just love it. So, Brian, I just, every time I meet a teacher, which is you, I say, thank you for protecting our future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I appreciate that.
Well, and giving people the tools. See, that's one thing I love, Brian, in our conversations. It's really kind of diving a little deeper and giving people the actual tools they need to move forward, right, with all that they're doing. It's not just about talking concepts, but actually giving people things applicable to actually achieving what they want to achieve, right?
Well, absolutely, and I think that we miss this, culture. And I'd be really interested in Oakland's point of view on this as well, because I suspect a lot of this is the same, just from a different perspective. But a lot of the things that get in our way is how we speak about them. That we really miss that culturally, because we think that all it really matters. Who I am, and I would say it really doesn't really matter who we are, right? We'll get into that in a second. But one of the things that defines who I am is who I say I am. And if we really break that down, that changes at a Buddhist level, or at a karmic level, or just at a scientific level, on a moment-to-moment basis. And so if we don't have language that allows us to change, then we're hampering our ability to think about the world, and that all of a sudden creates more problems than it creates solutions. And so it solidifies ourselves. We say, well, I am this, right? I am whatever, a Democrat, I'm a Republican, I'm a conservative, I'm a teacher, or whatever. I am this. not I'm thinking about these problems this way, which is a very different statement. One allows you the space to change and grow as situations change and grow, and it allows you the critical thinking space to make different decisions and better decisions, and it allows the world to be evolving. The other one just essentially says, this is the way the world is, and the world is going to remain static, and that's going to give us bad decisions. It's going to give us bad marketing. It's going to give us bad business decisions. We're not engaged in the world the way the world actually operates. And so
Right.
when we talk about the tools that we need for that, I would say it's curiosity primarily, and then the language of expressing that curiosity secondarily. And then you're well on your way to solving many of the problems that people come across in their businesses or in culture or anywhere else.
Right, for sure. Oakland?
Yeah, well, I'm absolutely, I agree with Brian. I mean, it isn't about you. And one of the first things I talk about in my presentation, one of the first things in my book is it's not about you, and yet it's all about you. It's not about you and your privileges and your titles and all those kinds of things that a lot of people think are important and why they do things. It's all about you and how you treat other people and how you run your organization and for the better of the people. And people always tell me, well, I want my promotion. I want my raise. And I tell them, look, if you do this for the right reasons and you do it right, you're going to get those things, but you're going to get them for the right reasons, not for the selfish reason that you want it. But if you take care of people and you run your organization correctly and so where it does take care of people, then they're going to take care of you because you're going to make them successful. And if they're successful, they're going to make you successful. That's the right way to get where you want to be. But I absolutely agree with Brian that you have to be different people depending on different things. If you just say I'm one thing, I'm one person, and I'm always going to be this way, then you're going to quickly get left behind. And one of the things that I always equate that to is decision making. If you think for 1 minute that things aren't changing and that you got to keep up with the changes, then you're going to get left behind very quickly. And you see that all the time in the business world. And in the military, it doesn't matter what profession. We see people who are afraid to change and afraid to make decisions because they don't have all the information. I don't have all the information. How can I make a decision? Well, I'm here to tell you, in the real world, you're never going to have all the information. In Fantasyland, you might. In the real world, you don't. That's just the way it is. You make decisions on the information you have and the guesses on the information that you don't have, and then you move forward. And then you constantly change as things come available. So I agree 100% with Brian. Absolutely.
Change is so important. I remember speaking with an accounting manager and about the company that she was working for is an engineering firm. And one of the questions I asked her is I said, well, what has changed recently? And I remember she leans forward on the desk and she's like, this is accounting. Nothing ever changes. And I'm like, really? So you're using clay tablets or goat skins and berry ink, right? And sure enough, not 6 months later, the company relocated its headquarters about 1,500 miles away. And I don't think she made that transition.
Well, hey guys, one thing I was thinking about in all this discussion is I want you to, Oakland, with your coaching people and Brian with your teaching, what are you specifically working to help people with? So, my good friend D. Scott Smith always likes to say, what problem do you solve and how do you help people? We want you to have a chance to kind of tell people what you really can do for them. So, Oakland, let's start with you.
Yeah, so during my presentation, I try to hit on a few things that an organization thinks it needs, and I always try to tailor my presentation to each organization that I go to. I'm not one of those that you pay me, I come for 45 minutes and talk and I leave. I want to come the night before. I want to have dinner. I want to get to know people. I want to talk to people. I want to sit in on the breakout sessions. So I find out what it is that you're really wanting to know. But almost every time that I give a presentation, no matter which profession I go to or talk to, there's always this one thing that I know every time I'm going to have to hit, and that's communication, like Brian was talking about. And I'm talking about communication in all forms. verbal, nonverbal, written. I always tell people never, ever, ever underestimate the power of a handwritten note. I mean, that is just huge, and we've lost that. A lot of people don't do that anymore, and I tell you, it has paid great benefits for me on several occasions. But and I also talk about listening. That's the one skill that is part of communication that most people in America, certainly in America, don't know how to do. Most people are only listening enough so they can figure out what they want to say next, not what you're trying to say. They don't care about understanding what you're saying. They want to figure out what they want to say next, and that's not listening. We got to get better at that. So I think communication is the one thing that I would say every time I talk to a group of people, or even individuals. I hear a lot to young men and women who are aspiring to be leaders that we're going to commission as lieutenants in the Army. And one of the main things I talk about is communication.
Right. I love that. Listen to understand, not to respond. And that is so important. Listening is something we all have to work on. Brian?
And just want to appreciate Oakland's great summary of communication as well. I think that's right on target and brilliant. For me, there's really two avatars for us. And so one is a manager in an organization, and this is probably all managers really, where they have to deliver a document on Monday and they are editing it on Sunday night, probably unbillable to the client, because what happened was the junior staffer who was writing that, who is, went to Harvard, or is a very capable person, is very well educated, still didn't quite meet the parameters as far as that manager was concerned. And we often think of that as a writing difficulty. And I often get called in and they say, well, that's a writing difficulty. Can you come? So-and-so has trouble writing. And that's almost never true. It is a thinking and process issue that is showing up in the writing. And that's a very different situation. And we need to look at it as a thinking and process issue. So in a lot of ways, do I teach writing and report writing in organizations? Yes. Do I primarily teach critical thinking in organizations? Yes. Because that's where it all starts. Critical thinking and critical processes for that thinking to move through a process. That's one. And because we were effective immediately going out into the market and getting some larger clients to do this work, other people started to say, hey, how did you do that? And so I began another part of this, which was literally helping people with their thought leadership, because it's the same thing. It is when we recognize that listeners respond to how we process information, not necessarily our conclusions of information, you get a lot of ROI quickly on something like LinkedIn content or your TED Talk or blogs or other speeches that you do. And so we help people with their thought leadership and defining what is often their most deepest, their deepest insights are going to bring about their greatest ROI. The problem is our deepest insights are often subconscious to us, and we need a process to pull those deepest insights conscious. And when those go up on your LinkedIn now, when those go up on your funnel pages, very different things happen. And so that's become a secondary thing that we help people with.
Yeah, I like that. Critical thinking to help with your writing. I'm thinking about that statement you made, and Scott is always helping me to think more critically.
Well,
I'm fly by the seat of my pants, but Scott helps ground me.
This is the skills, right? If you can write, and critical thinking, one of those topics that should be taught more, but probably isn't taught as much, especially in the early years. And I think, what great topics. History and leadership. Oakland, I just think about history, that there's so much that we can learn. One of the things is that the technology around us has changed, but people, the fundamentals of people, has not changed.
Yeah, absolutely. I always tell people, look, leadership is about people, period. It's not about flow charts. It's not about organizational charts. It's not about any of that stuff. It is about people. And if you don't understand that, you're never going to be a really good leader, because that's what it's about. And if you can take care of people, if you can figure that piece out, how to take care of the people in your organization, I always tell people, look, you can lead any organization. Leadership transfers between professions. And I'm a perfect example of that. I was a combat arms officer in the United States Army. I fought and defended America in our wars. That's what I got paid for. When I retired, I ran a food bank for 18 months. I ran the day-to-day operation of a food bank. You do not get any different than that. That's 180 degrees difference. When I took over that food bank, we were handing out 1.2 million pounds of food a year. 18 months later, when I handed it off, we were handing out 3.8 million pounds. Wow. Leadership is leadership. If you can lead people, you can get things done, because you understand that the vision and the plan that you're trying to come up with, you're not the one that's going to do it. It's the people that work for you and with you that are going to get you there. So you got to understand that it's about people. And that's what it's all about.
A quick question about this too. Leadership, is it something to be aspired to, or is it a tool to get things done?
So I think a lot of young people aspire to be leaders, and I think that's a good thing. But I think that the actual part of leadership is getting people to understand what it is that needs to be done. You have to be able to show them what the vision and the plan is, and why you want to get the organization there, because they have to buy into it. You can have a vision, a plan all you want, and if the people who work in your organization don't buy into it, it doesn't matter. One of the things I always do when I go around and talk to companies is I find one of the youngest person or the lowest ranking person in an organization, and I ask them what's the vision and the plan for the organization, and lots of times they can tell me that. I said, and what is your part in that? And if they can tell me that, then we got a good organization.
I love it.
If that person can't tell me that, we got some issues.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Brian, what are your thoughts on that?
I think, well, what I actually totally love about, and I apologize for sneezing at you there, guys. What I love about what Oakland mentions there, and I just want to reiterate it because I think it's brilliant, is that people are gonna follow us because of the why, not the what. And that gives us a responsibility to say, okay, so if I'm you on this leadership team, this is now any communication, right? This is whether it's a report to a client, or it's a pitch to a potential client, or it's a thought leadership post where we're saying, these are my observations from the field, and I think this is how it matters to you. But now we have this obligation to frame not around what's going to happen, but why it's going to happen. And so now, and that can happen really quick, like happen in 15 words. So if I'm you guys, I'm thinking about this, and let me tell you about why we're going to do it this way. And all of a sudden you get buy-in, right?
Absolutely.
But the minute we say, this is the way it is, you have to do this, this is your darn job, or this is just the right way to do this in business, or whatever, people reject it. And so I think it sounds like we were a good match today.
Absolutely.
This program, right? But Oakland, I'd be interested in
We're definitely going to have to link up and stay in contact, Brian.
Yes, and these lights go off because schools do this. I apologize. I have to
keep moving.
No problem. Right. Hey, well, listen, as we wrap things up, Oakland, let's bounce back to you. I have to be the responsible host here as we wrap up, and give everybody what you really want them to remember from today, because I know they're going to want to know more about you. So give them that little nugget, and then how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah. So I think the main thing that I like to say is that, again, it's about servant leadership. It's about people. It's not about you. And during my presentation and in my book, I talk about why it's about other people, not about you. And that it really is your legacy, is the people you leave behind, just like Scott was saying earlier. That's what I really, at this point in my life, that's what I want to do. I want to get out and talk to as many people as I can and make them understand that that's what leadership is about. And you can reach me on all my social media, LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, but I also have a website, www.ltcoakmcculloch.com, where you can find all the things I talk about, and it has my phone number, my email. If get in touch with me, happy to talk to you.
Yes, and as you're speaking, all of that information, this is magically appearing in the comments. Just want to remind people that this is all clickable. There it is. All you have to do is click on it to get to Oakland. So appreciate that. Brian, you're up next.
Appreciate that. I think for me, and this was a good match. I think it's probably very similar to Oakland. I would say that the credibility of a statement, any statement, is born in its assessment, not in its conclusion. And so we need to take on, as writers and communicators, that obligation of transparent assessment. And that can be difficult because we don't often know why the things we think are true. But that investigation is world changing for your clients, and that investigation is often world changing for the speaker as well. So that would be the nugget that I leave with. In addition to just thanking everybody here and Oakland and Scott for joining. And then in order to see me, the easiest place, most of my content ends up on LinkedIn. That's going to be the best place. I do have a website which I can direct you to. It's also on my LinkedIn profile. And for anyone who's interested, we have a free trial of a program many people have found very effective for looking at the world in language this way. So just DM me and I'll get you into that if that's of interest.
Perfect. Well, we appreciate both of you so much. Really, it's
Indeed.
been a great conversation, and I know personally, I always learn so much, and I'm so encouraged by both of your approaches to life. Thus, why you're on the show. But I appreciate your friendship more than anything. It's been not a long time that we've known each other, but I feel like I really connected with both of you because we're so similar in the way that we think. I love the servant leadership. I love the critical thinking and really diving in and making something of your life. And I just really want to thank you both for being here. Scott, do you have any last words?
Oh, indeed. I was just reminded as we were talking today of George Orwell's 1984, right? The dystopian view of really leadership misused. And they had the whole process of eliminating words in language because they wanted to control thought. And so, Brian, I love what you're talking about with thinking deeply. And Colonel McCulloch, thank you for, again, the reminder of servant leadership and that people at all levels need to understand that vision and their role.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for having us on the show. Really appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you both for being here. We're going to say goodbye to you on screen here, but hang tight in the green room. We'll see you there in just a minute. Have an awesome day. Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you.
Slowly but surely, I'll get everybody out of the screen.
Well, like I always say, we have the most remarkable people on the experience today.
For sure.
Certainly a great, stunning example.
So, Scott, what do you got coming up this week?
Yeah, this week, we're getting ready to release Freeze, the inaction in the face of business crisis. And that is, if people want to reach out to me, there's a video that I have that really gives a good overview of what happens in a crisis. And a crisis can be large, like the pandemic. It could be small, like the loss of a key employee or customer. But they're all crises to the business. And what do you do? Fight, flight, or freeze? There are actions that you can take to mitigate the risk and capitalize on opportunities. So I'm looking forward to that. And of course, at 9 a.m., it's the Aging Better Network with Christine A. Smith.
Yes. Do you know her pretty well?
I do indeed. It's the missus.
I just want to thank you and the missus for she was in the comments today. And, I just thank you for your impact and your positive influence on my life. And, I just loved what Oakland said today, and Brian, that really makes you stop and think, and how you're leading people, how you're thinking about all that you're doing in your life, being thoughtful, intentional about all you're doing. And so I just want to thank everybody again for being with us. We just appreciate all of you that are watching, taking your time to be with Scott and I. Whether you're watching live or on replay, please do me a favor. Share this out. Do us a favor and share this out. Get it out there for people to see. And if you're watching on replay, you still can share it. It makes no difference. We also would love for you to subscribe to our YouTube page if you haven't already. The best way to do that is just go to the experience.video, take you right to our YouTube page. You can hit that subscribe button. that would be so great. It'll give you all the past content as well as upcoming show notices. We'd love for you to be in our community to do that. And I think with that, Scott, I just appreciate everybody. Contact me at russedge.com, Scott at dscottsmith.com. When we can help you, we love to connect with you. And any last words before we head out for the day, Scott?
Thank you, dancers.
Yes. Well, we are excited.
Love all the comments. Love all the comments. There we go.
Got to throw that in. All right, guys. Until we see you again, have a great day and a great life, and
enjoy the experience.
Thanks for tuning in to The Experience Live with Russ and Scott. If you enjoyed today's show, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or subscribe on YouTube. See you next time.